Hey guys, Stu Darling from Unstoppable Force. Welcome to the podcast. Do you know what? I believe we can all break out of mediocrity. We can all reach beyond what we thought our limits were. And that's what we talk about on the podcast. We talk about being unreasonable. We talk about raising our standards. And we talk about delivering the ultimate sacrifice again and again. Welcome to this episode of Unstoppable Force TV. I am talking to Jeremy Stoker. Now, when Jeremy was a wee boy in the United States, his dad took him to an air show. And forevermore, the aircraft of his dreams was the Harrier jump jet. A year later, he went to see Top Gun, the original and still the best, with his family. And in that moment, he decided he was going to ride motorbikes, he was going to marry the girl of his dreams, and he was going to fly planes. That was his 20-year mission, his 20-year goal. And he achieved it inside 19 years, the overachiever. Now, with his other business, Command Your Life, he helps teenage boys understand what dreams are, understand that they are there to be chased, that life is unstoppable. Enjoy. Great to have Jeremy Stoker with me, a pilot, a coach, an awesome storyteller. We're just going to talk about, really being unstoppable. But Jeremy, welcome. Talk to me about how did you end up as a pilot?
That goes back a long ways, Stu.
We've got time.
All right, cool. My dream to become a pilot began when I was 7. That's when my dad took me to an air show for the first time. And Stu, you were in the military, you know how it is. Those planes, they are so loud and they are so fast. And as a 7-year-old, I was terrified, but I was loving every second of it at the same time. And the next year, my dad took me to see that movie Top Gun, the original
Top Gun, the original, yeah.
Yeah, and it was me, my mom, my brother Ryan, and I walked out of there just knowing exactly what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I was going to ride motorcycles, meet the girl of my dreams, and fly airplanes for the rest of my life at age 8.
Cool. So tell me, way back at that first air show, what was your iconic aircraft?
The Harrier.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. Tell me why.
It was so different than everything else.
Yeah.
It was so loud. Just loved it.
Okay. Anyway, sorry, I interrupt, and then of course Top Gun.
Please.
I remember when I was serving in Hong Kong, the U.S. carrier Independence came out to one of the nuclear boys, and we were invited on board for a cocktail party, and we're walking the length of the hangar deck, underneath the flight deck, and my mum had just arrived in Hong Kong that day. And it was Mum, we're going out for drinks. And, off we went across Hong Kong Harbour onto Independence. And she was just like, that's that thing that Tom Cruise flew in. It's iconic. Anyway, go on, tell your story. You're 8 years old and you've got your life sorted out.
Yeah, I got to, at least I think I do. So, 18, against my parents' wishes, I go buy a motorcycle. It's a Honda VTR Interceptor. When I was 24, I met and married my wife, Adrian. She is still the girl of my dreams. And because of my eyesight, I couldn't go in the military. That's very disappointing, but, I still found a path. And I got a college degree in aeronautical science and a commercial pilot license. So, everything's going great. I got the motorcycle. I got the girl of my dreams. I got the commercial pilot license.
Yep.
And then I become a cell phone salesperson.
Okay, join the dots.
And I was just devastated because I graduated college 3 months after 9/11. I did graduate December 2001. And I just saw that obstacle of like the aviation industry is in turmoil and Osama bin Laden and terror. Like, I didn't even try, Stu. I didn't even try. I just gave up. I can't compete with that. So I'm going to sell cell phones. Well, I don't want to do that. So I quit. I'm like, okay, I'll try selling cars. My dad was a car salesman. I'll try that. Hated it. Quit that. So then I started working construction. I live in Phoenix, Arizona at the time. So centigrade, it's like 40 every day. I'm like, screw that. I quit. So then I cleaned pools. I quit that, and I finally ended up working in a department store called Target. I think it's the equivalent of warehouse in New Zealand.
Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced it's that good,
shop.
but yeah. Yeah.
It's just it has everything there, and they paid garbage, and I'm just miserable. And I'm a good son, so I call my mom every week, and she says, well, honey, at least you're paying the bills. But I mean, whose dream was that, to pay the bills? Who wants to be that guy?
Yeah,
that's not a life to pursue or get excited about. So I'm sitting there stocking shelves. It's like 2 a.m, and it just hits me like a ton of bricks. What am I doing here? Just why am I here, Stu? Why?
So you're just existing.
Yeah. So if I can't be a pilot, and at that point it just seemed like I couldn't, well, at least I want to be in the same room as them. So I go find a small flight school. I quit Target because, at this point I'm really good at quitting. I'm a good quitter.
You've got that neural pathway
at this point.
Yeah.
And I find the small flight school. I resume my pilot training, and they hired me to work the front desk for the same pay I was getting at Target. So I'm like, all right,
So
at least I'm in the same room. Yeah. And so after a few months, I got my pilot training going, and I complete my flight instructor rating. And I'm hanging up the phone, scheduling someone's flight lesson the next day. And the chief pilot walks up. His name's Justin. He says, hey, Jeremy, John over there needs a few more touch and goes. Can you give him a lesson tomorrow? And totally cool. Like, yeah, I can do that, Justin. No problem. And he walks away, and inside it's just like, I'm going to get paid to be a pilot tomorrow.
Epic.
And just that moment where you're just like, I finally did it. A few months ago, I was stocking cereal on a shelf, and now I'm going to be paid to be a pilot. And it's just one of those moments you just never forget in your life where you just like, you turned a corner.
Yeah. Well, and how long was that after 9/11?
That was 2 years, almost 2 years.
So you were in the wilderness for 2 years.
2003.
What was the trigger? I mean, was it just sitting down realizing that, wait a minute, this wasn't what my life was meant to be? Where did that come from?
Well, what really triggered it was that phone call with my mom that I had every week. I knew I was letting her down. I knew she expected more of me. She saw me my whole life with making the model airplanes and the airplane posters, and every report I wrote in school was something about an airplane. I was just immersed in aviation, and then to be working at Target was just a disappointment to me, a disappointment to her. She wasn't, I don't think, disappointed in me as like her son, but like she just, like all moms know, their son has more potential than he's living up to. And that night when I quit that day, I didn't like do 2 weeks notice. Like I just like, I'm out of here, walked off the job. I'm done. That was 6 weeks after my mom passed away from pancreatic cancer.
Wow.
So I wasn't having that weekly phone call with her anymore. And that was devastating. And I just wish I could have talked to her, just a few more times, go, hey mom, I've turned it around. Yeah. I'm doing better now. I'm fulfilling my dream now. But having gone those 6 weeks without that weekly phone call, having that last phone call with your mom, knowing it's your last phone call, that's brutal. And then to know 6 weeks later, I want to say it let her down, but it sure felt like I did. I let myself down.
Is that still something you dwell on, or move beyond that and gone, actually, because this is all about being an unstoppable force, and that 6 week period, you just turned on your force.
Yeah, it's not something I dwell on at all, because I know wherever my mom is, she's proud. She's proud of who I've become. I'm still married to the girl of my dreams. We got 3 kids that, unfortunately she's never met, but I know she's proud of my kids, of her grandkids. And today I'm a captain for the largest airline in the world.
And before we get to the largest airline in the world, have you still got a motorbike?
No.
Dad of 3.
I went through 5 bikes. I had 5 motorcycles and had a couple of close calls after I got married. I'm like, my wife didn't tell me to sell it. She knew better.
Yeah.
But he had a couple close calls. I'm like, it's got to go. So, but I'm actually been looking at some Harleys recently, so now I might be back in the market here soon.
Nice, awesome. So
I got the itch.
Yeah, never goes away. It's that,
No.
it's just looking for that variety. We get to us men, we get to that stage in life. What so you did that one test for you did that your circuit and bumps with your matey boy at the flying school. Tell us the story then from there to flying for the biggest airline in the world.
Yeah, so I worked for that small school, just being a flight instructor in Cessnas for about 6 months. And then I got hired to fly a regional jet with American Eagle Airlines, a small Embraer 145 that seats 50 people. Flew that for about 2.5 years, and it was a great plane. I mean, it's a legit jet, flies 37,000 feet, Mach 0.78. It's a real cool jet to fly. But back then it just didn't pay any money, and I had my first kid, and U.S. dollars was making like $24,000 a year. I mean, it's just pathetic.
Oh wow, right, okay.
And can't support a family on that, and so I got an opportunity to fly private jets, and a friend with a connection, and so I shifted over to a company called FlexJet, started flying private jets. Challenger 604, beautiful plane. It crosses oceans, been out to Hawaii, been out to Europe, down all over the Caribbean. Just love flying that plane. But then the Great Recession hit in 2009, and it looked like I was going to lose my job. So I jumped ship from there and got a job flying for just a private family.
Okay.
Packed up the family from Texas, moved out to DC, and flew the same kind of plane, but just for a private family. And that turned out to be just a total disaster.
Can you share?
Yeah. They were a very nice family, a very generous family. They paid me very well. They just never stopped. It was just like, we got a business meeting, we got a vacation. Oh, we got to go visit these people. Oh, we're loaning the plane out to grandma and grandpa. Oh, guess what? Our brother needs to borrow the plane. The plane just never stopped moving. So I was never home. Okay. I would be gone 18, 19 days, come home one day, leave for another week, come home for another 2 days, gone for another 18. I was just never home. And, I got the girl of my dreams at home. Yeah. I want to be home with her. I want to be home with my kids. So I gave plenty of warning, but eventually I said, hey, this isn't working for me. And it wasn't my dream anyway. My dream had always been to fly as a captain for the largest airline in the world. That was my childhood dream ever since I was age 8. And so I quit that job, was unemployed, stayed at home, did the stay-at-home dad thing for 8 months, loved every second of it, and applied to my current airline, and they hired me. And
so what'd you fly now?
Captain.
What'd you fly?
Flying an Airbus 320 family. So we got 319s, 320s, and 321s.
And where do you fly?
All over North America, but done a little bit of South America, not a lot, up to Alaska, but most of my routes are within the U.S. and Mexico, typical 2-3 hour flights. And
I mean, my daughter's works for Air New Zealand. She runs the back half of the airplane, and A320s as well. But it sounds like a really glamorous job, flying around the world, and is it, or is it a little bit like a bus in the sky?
Like any job, it's a job. It has its days. There are those moments when we're climbing through the clouds, we're up in the front of the plane, you got a great view. You got you can see 200 degrees around you. It's just an amazing view. And when the sun's setting and you're going through those pink clouds and it's all pink around you, and you're going through a little bit of weather, and it's a little bit of a challenge. It's an incredibly rewarding career, incredibly rewarding. I can't imagine doing anything else. Just love it. But like all jobs, it has its routines, and another hotel room, another ride in a hotel bus, another cheeseburger from a hotel. There's some just routines that you just kind of go through it, and like everything, you gotta seize those peak moments, and just realize that sometimes it's going to be a little blah.
So what's the moment? Because there must be one that sticks in your mind of when you were just thinking, shit, this is piloting stuff now. There must be a few of those that just stick in your mind of, this is all the training. in this moment? I mean, I assume you haven't landed on the Hudson, but yeah.
No.
But yeah, you must
Hopefully
have
not.
moments. You must have a moment like that just says, all of my training in this moment. What was it?
There's a few. One that comes to mind. We were taking off. This is in the private jet. We're taking off out of St. Louis, a small regional airport in St. Louis, not the big one.
Mm-hmm.
And this is back when I was a co-pilot. And we're going down the runway, and oftentimes, you know, like when you open the freezer in a grocery store and there's that kind of mist that kind of comes out that's cold, and it kind of looks like smoke.
Yep.
That's not uncommon on an airplane because the air conditioning is pumping out some really cold air. You kind of see that mist. So we're going down the runway and see this kind of mist kind of coming over my shoulder like this. I'm like, oh, you know, that's nothing. But then it dawns on me, it's December, which is cold up here.
Yeah.
That's not humidity. That's smoke. And by the time I put it all together, you know, it felt like 10 minutes in my brain. It had probably been half a second. But I see it's a little bit of mist over my shoulder, and I wait that smoke, and I look down, and we're doing about 100 knots down the runway right now, which is fast.
Yeah.
Really fast. And I got to make that decision. Is that really mist, or is that just smoke? I got to make that decision now. And I decide, who cares if it's mist? I'm stopping.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's smoke. Maybe I don't care. I got to make the right decision now. So I call out reject. I slam the brakes on plane, thrust reversers out, plane just skidding down the runway. And we stop the plane on the runway. And right then, just all the smoke just rushes into the plane. I mean, I couldn't even see the captain was, 2 feet away from me. It was just complete blindness in there. And the captain, he yells back to the flight attendant. At that time, we just had one flight attendant plane, no passengers. He shouts, "Hey, evacuate the plane." So she drops the door. And we're just talking to each other through the smoke and feeling the instruments and switches to shut down those engines. And then we jump out of the plane. And I get out of that plane and walk about 50 feet away and turn around, and there's just smoke just pouring out of that cabin door. And I was just floored. If I had taken off that plane,
Mm-hmm.
if we lifted off, there's no way we could have landed that plane.
Wow.
I couldn't see anything. There's no way. And I think, another 2-3 second delay on my decision, I wouldn't be here right now. Tom and Debbie, my
Mm-hmm.
flight attendant and captain, they wouldn't be here right now.
And all
So
the
it's one of
training
those
just
moments
kicks
where
in.
you're,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's where that captain training, that pilot training, where you're like, okay, what are my priorities?
It sort of becomes it's almost that you what's the word I'm trying to say? Your subconscious almost takes over. Your training is so ingrained that you're not doing something anymore. You're just being what you were trained to be.
Right.
Yeah, it's
right. I mean,
Go on.
What's the phrase? Is you drop to the level of your training.
Yeah.
In those moments, you don't rise to the occasion. No, you drop to your training. So you better train damn good.
I think that's such an important lesson. That the reason why training education is so important, because you're right. As human beings, we're going to drop to that level, and that's where we go. Which is it's probably the best segue I've ever done. Tell me about your T-shirt or the top you're wearing.
Yeah. So
Command Your
based
Life.
on my Command Your Life is a company I started about 2 years ago. It's really just based on my story of when I was working in that department store, stocking shelves, not knowing what to do, of just realizing that everything just looked too big. The obstacles were too big. Everything was just so overwhelming. And then to just kind of chunk it down into small, obtainable goals.
Mm-hmm.
That day that I quit that job at the department store, I set a goal: in 20 years, I will be a captain for the largest airline in the world. I wrote that. I still have that in my journal right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that took me 18 years, 6 months, and 18 days.
Overachiever. Hold on.
Yeah, barely made it, but I made it, and that's because I broke down that goal into small, achievable goals. Like, I'm going to be flying a jet, I'm going to be making this amount of money, I'm going to be crossing oceans. All those things that I wanted and need to do to get this job, to be who I want to be today.
Yep.
I had I had to build this guy. Airlines just don't hire anyone. They gotta hire the person they want.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to build myself into the person they wanted. And with that experience, I realized, man, especially with COVID these days, there's a lot of young men out there struggling.
Yeah, there are.
And I want to use my story. I do use my story to help young men realize that they can achieve their goals, that they need to set goals. A lot of them are just afraid to set goals because they don't want to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And failing is just part of the system. That's just what you do. But that doesn't mean it's over. So I help them command their life.
How do you do it? How do you do? What's your process? Is it online? Is it speaking events? How do you do it?
Yeah, so I have an 8-video online program that these young men sign up for. We have monthly group coaching calls where we all meet together. I offer one-on-one coaching with these young men if they so desire. And something I recently started, we're having our first meeting actually tomorrow, is I started a Command Your Life parent community. Because as these young men make a lot of progress, or they try to make progress, mom and dad step in oftentimes, go, I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know, nah. And mom and dad begin to step on them and think, oh, well, that might not work out, so don't try. No, that is the exact antithesis of what we want. We want them to try, and they may fail, but they're going to learn something. So I've also branched out to assisting parents in becoming better parents, and not sit there and go, hey, you need to be a better son.
I think that's so cool. I mean, I often talk about, an unstoppable force. We were born as unstoppable forces, and we've spent our lives being told, in fact, even before we were born, we're told, be stoppable.
Yeah.
And the world just tells us, no, stop, be reasonable, stop. Yeah, this is the way society does things, so you've got to do it that way too. That's how are parents responding?
Parents love it. Mm-hmm. Parents, just last week I was talking to his dad, and it broke my heart. He broke down in tears right in front of me because he instantly realized what he'd been doing to his sons. Of, you're not good enough, and you need to change this, and you're not doing the right things, and he was just constantly criticizing them. And then wondering why their self-esteem was so low.
Yep.
So to work with his sons and to work with him and have him see the light of, there's a better way to do this. There's a better way to talk to my son. And to watch the videos that I put out where we talk about prioritizing and routines and habits and discovering your potential, finding mentors, coach, trainers, and putting yourself on the right team, and selecting better friends, all those things. Like it's the whole life thing. So as these boys set a goal and set a purpose, a 20-year goal, which is what I did.
Yep.
And that's what I have them do. And it's not necessarily like, hey, I'm going to be an airline pilot, but hey, I'm going to be a great dad. Hey, I'm going to be a great husband. I'm going to be a great person in my community. This is the kind of home I want. Okay, well then let's build you into that person. How are we going to do that?
And I think
we get mom and dad on board.
That's something that we must be careful of. And I find it in my workshops that just because your dream was to be an airline pilot, mine is to stand on the summit of Everest at some point, along with other goals as well. But I've also found that when we've spoken about dreams and goals in workshops, and some people say, my dream is to live closer to my grandchildren, and we've got to just go, that's amazing, because that is your dream, and that's what makes you unique from anyone else in the room. And it's your uniqueness that the world needs right now. And too often people don't share those, what they might feel are smaller dreams. They don't share them because it's not Everest. It's not flying in space. It's not, doesn't matter. It's whatever you choose it to be, because that's the thing that gives you the momentum. And maybe it will grow into something more, or maybe that is your dream. And I sense that people like you and me, we've got to hold that safe space for whatever people's dreams are.
Yeah, that's exactly what I work with these young boys. I never judge their dream. I never judge what they're trying to accomplish. I never try to correct it. Mm-hmm. If that's what they're trying to do, then I will help them figure out a way to do it. But what's interesting is as they get closer, it changes. Oh, I can do more than what I thought I could do. Oh, I want to do this now. Oh, I want to live by my grandchildren, but maybe I want to live by my grandchildren in a house like this. And I want to drive to visit them in a car like this. We start to get more details as we get closer to our dream. And another thing that I've realized is that when you really want something, you don't have to justify it to anybody. You don't have to explain it to me.
No.
If you want it, just go get it.
Mm-hmm.
You deserve it. Life is too good. There's so much abundance in the world right now. There's never been a more abundant time in the history of humankind. Go get it, and don't sit there and feel bad about it. Just get it and don't justify it.
Perfectly put. It's just, you're right. Just go out and get it. And sometimes, because we've been told to be stoppable, sometimes we're just looking for that. It's not even looking for permission. It's looking for that person to walk with us to get there.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that person may not be the person that's going to get you there.
Very seldom
You're
is.
going to have to find someone else. Yeah. You're going to have to find someone else. And you're going to have to find a mentor. You're going to have to get some coaching. You're going to have to find a team. Mm-hmm. And you're going to need to get some training to get to your next level. You got to surround yourself with those kinds of people. It's raising your standard.
Yep.
It's, determining your sacrifice. It's all that stuff.
Yeah. When you grow into that person, you're going to look for more people. Yeah, you're right. It's that sort of, right, okay, I've got my coach now, but now I'm going to have to look for next, and not being afraid to do that. And that's really what we're talking about here. It's about, commanding your life is removing that fear, isn't it?
Yeah, it's taking responsibility for you.
Perfect.
And not waiting for someone else to do it. Because no one else is.
No.
And do you want someone else to? Do you want someone else to take command of your life? Because I guarantee you they're not going to plan it out very well, and they're not going to give you a whole lot, because they're going to use you to command their life.
Yeah.
They're going to use you to bring your resources to them.
Perfect. This is, I've really enjoyed this. I really feel, I feel we sort of got into a conversation that could go on forever just talking, because, you're both unstoppable force and command your life are have very similar goals. I really enjoyed the conversation, but, coming to an end, if you were a superhero, who would you be?
I would be Superman.
Okay. And it's got nothing to do with the underpants, has it?
I do look good in tight pants.
Nice. Thank you.
No, I love the double identity. I love how he's Clark Kent, mild-mannered, just doing his own thing. But when the moment arises, he's unstoppable. He will get it done.
Beautiful. I love the way you brought unstoppable in there as well.
How could you not?
Cool. Jeremy, absolutely awesome talking to you today. Thanks so much for taking time to be on Unstoppable Force TV. Looking forward to seeing you in a couple of months.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll see you soon, Stu. Thank you
so
much.
All right, have a good one. Cheers.
Okay, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, but more importantly, I hope you got something from it. As I say to clients at our workshops,
thanks for that.
If you take
cool.
one phrase from one sentence that was uttered during that podcast, then this has been of value. If you're looking for more content, jump across to www.unstoppableforce.co.nz or find us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. If you enjoyed this and you want more, we are live across New Zealand at events and workshops, and sometimes in the US. If this has been valuable to become an unstoppable force, come along and reach beyond your limits.